In this video, we'll deploy a simple web application in our Kubernetes cluster. For this video, we'll make use of Cloud Shell Editor. You can use any text editor of your choice. We can check that we are connected to a Kubernetes cluster running kubectl get nodes. If this doesn't work, we can use gcloud to get the cluster configuration by running gcloud container clusters get credentials, name of the cluster, in our case, hello world, location, in our case, US Central 1. Now we're ready to get started. We'll create our Kubernetes manifest in the same folder our source code is in. For this example, we are using the Go source code. This will be the same step for any language you choose. We create a YAML file for the deployment, then we edit the file. Kubernetes manifest is defined with YAML. All Kubernetes manifest starts with API version. The latest stable release of Kubernetes have apps v1 for deployment. Then we'll define what kind of manifest it is by having the kind keyword, which is deployment for our case. We're going to attach some metadata. The name of the deployment is going to be hello GKE. Then we're going to have the spec block. We're going to define how many replicas of this application we want. Let's just say we want one copy. In the selector block, we'll define how our deployment connects to our pod. In Kubernetes, this is done via labels. So we're going to match labels, and we'll give it a label of app hello. Our pod will have to have the same label for the deployment to connect to it. Next, we'll create the template block. This is where our pod definition goes in. Again, we're going to give a metadata. This is the label of the pod. So we're going to create a block for labels and give it a label app hello. We're going to have another spec block. This is where our container definition will go in. We're going to have a containers block. In Kubernetes, pod is made up of one or many containers. This is why containers is an array of containers. We're going to give it a name. This could be anything, but in this case, we're going to call it hello app. Next, we're going to give it an image, and this image will be the image that we have created for this particular language. In this case, it will be US Central 1-docker.package.dev/ our project name, in this case, Mofi Labs, name of the repo, which is hello, name of the image, which is hello, Go. Replace Go with the language of your choice if you have been following a different language path. And we'll be using image tag latest. In our application case, we only have a single port that our application exposes, but certain use cases may require you to open up multiple ports. We're going to give it a container port of 8080. And finally, we'll set up some environmental variable in the env block. We'll set port to 8080. We'll also set target to GKE. With that, our manifest for Kubernetes deployment is complete. Let's deploy this to our cluster. In our terminal, we can run kubectl apply -f and pass in the file name, in this case, deployment.yaml. We will see a deployment hello-gke was created. We can see the list of pods that are being created with kubectl get pods. And we'll see that hello GKE is already running. We can also see the deployment with kubectl get deploy. We can also see the logs from our running pod by running kubectl logs name of our pod. And it will tell us that it's listening on localhost 8080. Our application right now is running, but we can't access it from outside. For that, we need a service. Let's create a service YAML for the service definition. Our service.yaml file will define the service definition for our application. Just like before, we need an API version. For service, it's v1. For kind, we're going to choose service. For metadata, we'll give it a name. Let's call it hello. For spec, type defines what kind of service it is. In this case, we're going to give it a type load balancer. Service type load balancer will talk to the underlying cloud provider to give us a load balancer for our service, which we will be able to access from outside with the public IP. Let's give it a selector. In this case, we'll make the selector the same label we have on our pod, which is app hello. Finally, let's open up some ports for the service to talk to our application. In this case, we have only one port, and we're going to open up port 80, and we're going to target port 8080. With that, our service is defined. Let's apply the service. Kube control, apply, -up, service.yam. This will create service hello. We can see the status of the service, kube control, get service. We will see that our external IP is pending. After waiting some time, we can see that our external IP field has been populated. Kube control, get service. Our application is now live on the internet on this external IP. We can test it by running curl http, and we will see that we get hello GKE. That's it for this video. In a future video, we'll dive deep into other Kubernetes and container topics.